Good evening and welcome to the premiere of Kickback Chat with Amber Pickens. And I'm your host, Amber Pickens. Kickback Chat will feature established entertainers, rising stars, and we'll talk about all the great things that they're doing, what they plan on tackling in their careers, and we'll get a glimpse of who they really are. Tonight, we are live at the beautiful Cadillac House in Soho, and I have the privilege of interviewing the star of 24 Legacy, Dr. Dre and Straight Outta Compton, Houston on Kong Skull Island, Heath on The Walking Dead, Juilliard graduate, and Tony nominee for his amazing performance in 6 Degrees of Separation. Please welcome Corey Hawkins.
How you doing?
Corey, how you doing?
Oh, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you
guys.
so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on your Tony nomination.
Oh, man. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
And you know I'm a theater geek, so I didn't see 6 Degrees once, but I had to go back and see it one more time. I mean, and I'm still on cloud nine. Your performance was so amazing.
Thank you.
It was absolutely incredible.
That means a lot. I appreciate it.
So we have a lot to talk about, but before we get into all that, I want to rewind it and start from the beginning a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Because I read that at the age of 9, you auditioned to be teeny tiny Tappin' Theo in Debbie Allen's Brothers of the Night, and you didn't even know how to tap.
I didn't.
So what was it about this show that caught your interest?
Well, I mean, growing up in DC's like it's just a melting pot of just amazing creatives and artists. And so I was lucky enough to grow up around a lot of those kind of people. And so Debbie Allen came to town, and you know, there was this big hubbub about her doing this show at the Kennedy Center, and I was like, wow, I really want to get in on that, you know. And I grew up singing, you know, that was sort of how I started. So I thought I could just go in there and sing, and they said you had to know how to tap, but I was like, I can act like I know how to tap, you know,
Yeah.
I can do that. And she stood up and she was like, throw in your tap shoes, I want to see you do something. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe. And I just went into the middle of the floor and just, at like 10 years old, I don't know how old I was, but, and Debbie got up and she said, honey, baby, oh my, she was slicing my head up, so I just kept going even more. And from that point on, she became like, she's like my auntie and my mentor. We did that show, Brothers of the Night, and so dance, she sort of introduced dance into
your life, for the singing and the acting part of you.
Yeah.
So I heard that, I also read that your dreams were almost dashed because your mom and Miss Allen got into a few disagreements because your grades weren't so good. So let's talk about the grades, Corey.
Get your grades right. Keep your grades right, keep them tight. Or moms will come after you. Or
they will come after you. Both moms in that case.
Yeah, they were like, Debbie was like, he's coming to LA. She was like, no, he ain't. No, he ain't. She was like, well, we'll get him a tutor out there. I was like, oh my gosh. And, but
That's
Mom
amazing.
won that battle.
Mom won it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your grades together, but I think it's amazing that your mom is in law enforcement because she's not like your average mom. I mean, well, I got in trouble every day because even when I didn't say yes, ma'am, I would be grounded for a week and I would get in trouble in ballet and blah, blah, blah. But do you feel like your mom was even more strict because she was in law enforcement?
Yeah, my sister and I, we called her Officer Hawkins. Like, it was no playing around. Like, when she came, there was no sneaking. Went girls into the house, there was no sneaking out of the house, there was no play, you know. She was very strict, and she raised us. We actually called her Mo Jackson after Joe Jackson, too, because she was, I remember we were doing, when I was really, really young, we were doing I was auditioning for the Apollo.
Oh, wow.
And we lived in this little tiny court, so everybody on the other side could hear me, you know, singing The Greatest Love of All, you know, Whitney Houston song at the top of my lungs. And she'd be like, do it again, do it again, do it again, but nicely, but you know, she wanted perfection.
Yeah.
And but she always was supportive and always kind of pushed me in that direction without being a stage mom, you know, and
just taking over too much.
And taking over too much and trying to, you know, control everything. She wanted me to have sort of the best, but but she was tough. She was really tough.
Yeah, well, that's amazing because it paid off, and she's so supportive even still to today.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you've done so many roles since then. You make your Broadway debut in Romeo and Juliet. You were Travis on Nonstop.
Yeah.
You were even a Navy op on Iron Man 3. But then you get that phone call for your breakout role as Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. So tell me, how did it feel to get that phone call?
I remember I had just finished doing Romeo and Juliet, and my agent said, they're doing this new movie, this NWA film. I was like, really? Really? Who's gonna be in it? Like, I wanna know, like, I can't wait to see it. He was like, well, they're auditioning people for Dr. Dre. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, you know, they want you to come in for it. And I was like, you're joking, right? I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, when I walk down the street, nobody goes, is that Dr. Dre? Like, they do now, but like, you know, before the movie, nobody, I didn't even think, you never imagined that sort of thing for yourself. And I remember him saying, you know, go in. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass the movie. It's too much pressure. Dre was in the news for all of his, you know,
a lot going
accomplishments.
On at the time. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not the guy for the job. He calls me later on that evening, and he was like, you know, the casting director said you didn't come in. I'm like, I told you I wasn't going in for the role. Like, why did you?
You were like, no, thank you.
Right. And and finally, one thing led to another. He got me to audition. I auditioned at Juilliard. I went up to Juilliard,
wow.
went back to Juilliard, and I was like, I need a room to put this thing on tape. It's not going to work out, but they making me do it, and you know. So finally, I did it, and I Skyped with F. Gary Gray, the director. And from that point on, that led to, I mean, I was seeing people in the waiting room who looked just like Dr. Dre.
And you're like, oh, they have to get
it. Yeah, you know, in your head, you're just like, so I flew to LA. We did the studio test. That's where I met Jason and O'Shea. And we basically walked up to F. Gary Gray and we were like, this is it. Like, these are the guys. You need to cast us, period, point blank. And then I met Dre. And once I met Dre, it was like that.
And I remember sitting in the theater at the movies, and as soon as the trailer for it came up, I was screaming. Like, I know that's Corey. Oh my God, it's gonna be Dr. Dre. Oh my goodness. And then I remember seeing you at Juilliard, and I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see the movie.
Yeah.
So that's great. How did you tap into the role? Did you go to Compton, and were you just trying to like hang with the homies? Were you listening to a lot of NWA?
It was easier than I thought it would be. I mean, it was hard. They put us through this boot camp that we had to do, basically. I mean,
NWA boot camp.
Basically, it was like, you know, you're gonna learn how to DJ, you're gonna learn how to walk the walk, talk the talk. It doesn't matter how much of a fan you were, you know, we still had to re-record all of the songs, and then they would be sent out to Dre and Cube. They would listen to them.
Get the approval.
We'd be sitting in the studio like
nervous
at 3 a.m. just like trying to get it right, you know. And if it wasn't right, it didn't make it, you know? And so it kind of emulated how they were back in the day. And it was the 5 of us, so we were in the studio making these tracks like they were doing back in the day. And so it kind of grew, that relationship kind of grew. And we would check each other. We'd be like, that ain't it. Nope, that ain't making a record.
Well, and that's good to stay honest with each other, to keep each other like focused and really just true to the character.
Exactly, because we could only depend on each other for that film. And Dre and Q were there every single day.
Oh, wow.
On set every single day. And there's a level of pressure that comes with that, but it also like gave us some, you know, and it was the times when they weren't there that we got nervous. We were like, well, where's Dre? Where's Q? Where's, you know, Yella and Ren? And but they always came back and had our backs.
Yeah, that's really good. And I remember even in the movie, because everything was so believable, and one of my favorite things was seeing the mixing, because that was going to be one of my questions for you. Were you really mixing? Or even when you're laying down and you're just listening to the music, and it reminds us of how Dr. Dre was so into the music and really producing it. Because like, since it was before my time, I didn't even, you know, I remember being younger just thinking they were so hard. So that really showed me the artistry in the characters.
Yeah, well that's the thing about Dre that I wanted to capture, was that he's a chess player. All of them were. They were geniuses. If you know, these days in Hollywood, like if you would say, I want to make this movie and NWA didn't exist. I want to make this movie about these 5 young black kids from Compton, and one becomes a billionaire, one becomes a mogul, one died of AIDS, but it's great. It's like great. I mean, like Hollywood would be like, no, that can't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the possibilities. I mean, these guys were geniuses, and to be able to kind of, you know, level with them, and they, I mean, they gave us everything we needed. I literally, talking about DJing, I had the old vinyls, and I had to learn how to scratch and mix and set. I had to drag the equipment to set every day,
wow.
set it up in the trailer, unplug, you know, drag it back home at night, you know, in the middle of shooting. And
so you're tired.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, it wasn't rocket science, but it was hard, and I have a newfound respect for that side of it. And then Dre taught me about producing and just the basics, and to learn that kind of stuff and be in the studio and watch him create. It's surreal.
I can only imagine.
It's cool. It was cool.
That's amazing. So were you already listening to a lot of NWA before the movie, before you even auditioned? Have you been a big fan? Because I know that's when they started, probably around the time when you were born, but when you finally were older, did you listen to a lot of NWA?
I did. I mean, I grew up kind of, like my uncles would play it in the house, and we had the vinyls and stuff. So I knew NWA, but I was more familiar with, you know, Dr. Dre's music and Ice Cube, and a lot of people didn't know what they went through to get to where they are, you know?
They were activists.
Right.
It was like,
And speaking of activism, I mean, the whole Ferguson was literally happening. We were shooting the riot scene, and Ferguson was happening. We would shut down the boulevard in LA, up in the studio. I don't know where it was, but anyway, we would shut it down and sort of reenact those riots that they lived through. And then we would go home at night and turn on our TVs, and Ferguson was happening.
Oh wow!
You know, and so it was eerie that art was really sort of imitating life at that.
And you really had something to pull from. Like this is happening right now.
Right now, you know, and it's still going on today, all these years later. So that was a little surreal. That was a little something that we had to kind of reckon with while we were making the movie. But, it was great.
That's incredible. So you've done it all now. You've done Broadway, you've done TV, you've done film. So how did it feel to come back to the theater for the infamous role of Paul in these 6 Degrees of Separation?
I said it before, but I think this character might be the most elastic character that I've ever had gotten a chance to play. The most in terms of his mind, in terms of his imagination, in terms of where he takes himself. You know, he's a character that sort of creates his own reality and lives in it fully, no matter what. You know, and I wanted that again. I wanted to be able to go back to that, because when we were at Juilliard, you know, the sky was the limit. You know, and so I'm sorry. And so it was like you could create, and you could play these crazy characters.
Definitely.
And I mean, I played old Jewish white men. I played, you know, like you know. But to be able to come back to the theater and have this opportunity,
with so much more experience as well. So
having everything the tools to kind of bring myself to this point. But and I don't think I would be able to do that now had I not had those experiences. And it's a character that surprises me every night. It's not the same. You've seen it.
You go through an emotional roller coaster. One minute I'm like, I feel for you, Paul. Then the next one I'm like, oh, Paul, somebody needs to take you to jail.
Exactly.
You get on my nerves. Or sometimes I'm crying because everything he's doing, people I'm like, with all the stuff they went through. So it was definitely an emotional roller coaster for me.
It's a roller coaster, night after night. I mean, and the audience doesn't know how to feel. They're like,
exactly,
you know.
exactly, because it's like he's going through so much, and then they're trying to, and even the characters in the play, they're trying to figure it out too. How do we really feel about this person that's manipulating me, but they need help at the same time?
But that's the thing. It's a play about connectivity, and we live in this era of, you know, where we're so connected, but not really connected, and you know, where social media gives us this false sense of an idea of who a person is.
Definitely.
And I'm not really a big social media person.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I was like, but I think that's great because I feel like now with the arts, they force us to do it. Sometimes you go on an audition and like, well, do you have 3,000 followers? If not, hit the road.
Right.
And that's just crazy.
But you know what I think about that, and I've always, and I hope to continue just going along that route. But like if that's what you're looking for, then I'm not your guy.
Okay.
You know, if that's what you want, somebody with 1 billion followers, and that's what's most important about this character or this story, then maybe not. You know, I might. You know, there are benefits to it, but for what I'm doing right now at this moment in my life, you know, you got to learn how to leverage it in certain ways. People can leverage it in, you know, as a business tool and things like that, but right now, for me, you know, that's what's most important is the work,
and stuff that really registers and that's timeless. That has a legacy that lasts, you know, forever and ever.
Right. I mean, you know, the heroes who we look up to
did not have it. They would be laughing at us.
Exactly.
Nina Simone be like, "What is social media?"
What is a snap?
What is a snap? It's like all the different artists.
Right.
I could hear different voices in my mouth just laughing. It's like taking pictures all the time.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know, live in the moment, be here. You know, that's what's important, and I just feel like this generation can kind of learn from that. But at the same time, I don't mind a nice selfie every night.
Yeah, no, same with me. So back to 6 Degrees. Courtney Vance played him. Will Smith on the film. What did you want to bring to this character, and also because I'm sure you saw maybe a recording of Mr. Vance doing it in the movie. Did you see anything that you didn't want to do, or?
I saw the movie when I was young, but I didn't see. I never saw a recording of Courtney do it, and so. But what I remember about the character was the charm, the charisma, the just this character who is just elusive, you know. And for all the people who've played Paul Poitier or Paul Poitier-Kittredge or whatever he chooses to be in the moment, I mean, it's a character that can go so many different places, and so. I don't know if there's anything that I took from that other than, I mean, everything is is on the page, you know, and that's why I say it's different night after night. Because some nights, you know, there's this huge speech, the Catcher in the Rye speech that he has at the beginning of the play.
I didn't get it at all.
It's
the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, that was a lot.
It's
and then
a lot
the second time is when, and I was like, oh, but I want to see it again and again because that is.
It's a lot.
I even tried to look it up on the internet so I could actually see it because it just.
Way it sort of, but that's the way John Ware sort of lets this character flow through this language, and that's the thing. The thing that I wanted to bring with this character is that he actually believes it. You don't see the con. When he walks into the door, you see Paul Poitier, and if you don't know the audience, you think that he's the son of Sidney Poitier. Until he's caught with the hustler in the bedroom, and then and then everything starts to unravel. But that was important to me is that he's so caught up in his truth, or what he thinks is his truth, that he sort of loses himself. But if you look at him in the totality of all the characters in the play, he might be the closest to to somebody who knows himself.
And when the couple argues at the end, and he's like, well. Or she says, you know, maybe we're not made for each other. It's like they didn't even know who they were.
They're realizing.
Pretending to be something throughout their whole life.
Exactly.
I was like, this play is phenomenal.
It's a play literally about art and forgery, and a play, you know, metaphorically about forgery, about people who go through their lives pretending to be something else, which is what we all sort of do in a certain way, but
And how is it different playing Paul versus Eric on 24 Legacy, where you're holding a gun, you're bleeding all the time, you got cuts and bruises, you're running, jumping on cars,
I swear,
trying to save your wife,
getting hit by cars. Oh my goodness! I swear, like it kind of feels like a little bit of a vacation, but then on stage night after night, you're like, oh my God, why did I choose to come back and do this? But
completely different.
But it's crazy because. I love that part of. I remember talking to Kiefer Sutherland at the beginning of shooting this. And well, I didn't talk to him at the beginning. I wanted to wait before I spoke to him about, you know, what his experience was. And so we were just chatting, and he became sort of a mentor figure.
That's
too.
Awesome,
But he was just like, this is a hard show, so get ready. In a matter of words, he was just like, get ready, bro, because you're not right now.
Yeah,
you're not ready.
You decided to do all your stunts and everything.
I wanted to do all my stunts. They wouldn't let me do certain stuff because they were like, we can't kill you, but
you might die.
Yeah, they were like, we gotta save you. But they let me do a lot of it, like all the jumping up on the cars, running around, falling off of, you know, the roof. Well, not rooftops, but you know, rooftops. You know, it was cool, and we had a great cast, and we were down shooting in Atlanta, and it was fun. You know, it was to be able to play an action hero on network television and look the way I look.
Yeah.
I mean, this opportunity was something I couldn't just be like, nah, you know, I had to go.
And I want to tell you, that's my dad's favorite show. When he
for real?
found out that he was like, oh, wow, I love 24 Legacy. Oh, that's great. Good for that young man. I was like, okay, Dad.
Oh, that's
so
what's
yeah,
up.
I wanted to make sure to give a shout out to him because he was
What's
too
up, Dad?
excited.
Thanks, Dad.
He loves that show. And so I know that Broadway, like you were saying, it's every single day. Broadway is so hard, and even when, I know, I was like, even when I was in my show, it was intense. So do you have a routine, like a religious routine, something that you're like, I have to do this every day to tap into the role of Paul?
I was talking to Danny DeVito because he's also nominated this season, and he was talking about how he jumps on the trampoline every day before a show. Like he has a trampoline in his dressing room, and he just jumps up and down on the trampoline, and I was like,
okay,
wow,
if it works.
Maybe I need to give me a trampoline.
Maybe I do too.
Go to town. I mean, but for me, I'll try not to get trapped into a religion. Like, you know how like as actors, before a show, you have a certain thing in your head
and you're
that
like,
you
don't
think,
bother me, I have to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I try, you know, there is a moment where you have to kind of settle into the reality of, you know, prepping to go on, and you do your warm-ups and all of that stuff. But I'm trying to find a way, because you know you'll have a set routine, and then the show goes really well, and then you want to do that routine again before the show.
So you beat yourself up, but that routine doesn't work.
Exactly. So you're like, you know, I don't know. I just kind of keep it loose. I listen to music. I breathe. I pray before every show, and just kind of fall into the character. And we all warm up together before the show.
That's nice.
Allison Janney, John Benjamin Hickey are amazing in this show. They're my rocks.
Oh yeah, they're so great.
I was on, like, one time I was on stage for the Catcher in the Rye speech. I mean, this speech is literally 10 minutes long, or 15 minutes.
We're all in the audience just like, so yeah.
Or like,
There's always a few. Hopefully they're not on the first row. That always sucks when they're
because
right
I can
there.
see you, and we're
like,
talking to the audience
sleeping
too.
in my face.
But thankfully that hasn't happened. But there has been a few times where I've gone up on, I completely blanked on that monologue. And usually, like, if it's just a scene and we're just popping, you know, everybody has lines, and somebody goes up on a line or something, Allison or John, or I'll kind of be there to catch you. But when you're in the middle of this monologue, I remember looking over to Allison, and she was just like, she was like,
oh, yeah, because the spotlight's on you, and the lights are, so she can kind of make a face like, listen.
She's like, can't help you, bro. But then there's other times where I come on stage with 3 plates of pasta, and and there's a quick change right before it, and they're like rolling up, and I'm like, if I drop a plate, the rest of this plate is just,
oh, I didn't even think about
you know,
that.
like, but I did drop pasta all over the floor, but I didn't see it. So Allison like bent over and picked it up. She was like, 3-second rule, popped it in her mouth, and like the audience went nuts, and like, you know, we live for those kind of moments because it takes you out of your head, and you're just like,
and
this
the
is what it
beauty
is.
of theater,
Yeah.
it's like it's just really happening. It's live.
Right, which doesn't happen on film and television. You know what I mean? In a different way it happens, but you know, you can always get another go on film and television. But theater, you just
It's so
you gotta,
authentic. It's real.
you gotta pick that pasta up and eat it. You know?
Yeah, 3-second rule.
Right.
And even though the script was written, he created probably like 30 years ago or so, it still resembles the world that we're in today. So how does it feel to be playing a character, just like playing with Dr. Dre, with those activists and everything, or with a lot of roles you play? How does it feel to be playing Paul when it resembles so much that's going on right now?
there's a line at the end of the play. The first act of the play is like a dinner party. Everybody's like, you know, this kid comes into these people's lives. He knocks on the door and sort of, you know, pretends to be this guy, and that's the first part of the play. And you're like, okay, all right, I see what's going on. You know, and they're talking to the audience, and it's sort of a, you know, relationship there. And then the second act of the play, mind you, the play is all 90 minutes long. There's no intermission, but it feels like a play in 3 acts. The second act of the play, you know, it's a who did it sort of mystery sort of kind of thing. Who is this guy?
I love that part.
Yeah, everybody's trying to figure out, you know, who Paul Poitier is. And then the third act of the play is when the rug sort of gets pulled out from under everybody's feet, and you realize it sort of gets turned on its head.
Yeah.
And there's a line at the very end where he has to remind her that he's a black man. He asks her, you know, he says he'll go to the police, he'll confess, he'll do whatever he has to do, but he's asking her to take him, because if you don't take me,
I'll treat you.
if you don't treat me, you know, if they don't know you're special, they kill you, is the line. And she says, I don't think they kill you. And
Like, why would they do
why
that?
would they do that? And then he has to remind her that he is black. And at that moment, I mean, people are laughing throughout the whole night, but at that moment, you hear and feel the audience sort of sit back.
It reminds them of, okay, this is what I'm actually watching.
Yes, and sometimes, and to be completely honest, a majority of the audience is a white audience, and you know, and they're going along and they're laughing and they're sort of in this surreal moment, and then they realize, you know, and everybody in the audience sort of realizes that. And this, but talk about the relevancy. I mean, he wrote this play before Rodney King and before Black Lives Matter, and before, you know. So yeah, it's really it gives me chills every night when we get to that part.
Happening.
Because he becomes a statistic, basically. Because they don't know his name, he gets lost. He gets arrested and he becomes a statistic. And then they find out that a young man committed suicide on Rikers Island, and they don't know if that was him because he hanged himself. You know, it's like it's one of those plays that kind of just does that.
And even when she talks about it towards the end, where she just explains to him, like, I just don't want him to basically be a statistic. I don't want him just to be, you know, something
anecdote.
we talk, that we talk about at fancy dinners.
Exactly.
Like, I want y'all to really understand that there's people that, you know,
people
that just fall in the cracks.
Yes.
Yeah, and get
it
forgotten.
Happens every day, and that's something that, you know, we'll see a story, you know, online, or you'll see something come across the news, and you're like, oh wow, that's sad. But you don't realize that, you know, how the ramifications of how, you know, deep that goes, and how far back it stretches, and I don't know.
It goes over people's heads.
Yeah.
So what's been your hardest and our longest role to tap into?
I don't know, maybe Teeny Tiny Tapping Theo and Brothers of the Night. No, I'm joking.
But you did have to learn how to tapping is hard.
Tap.
Oh, tapping is so hard.
When I finally told her I didn't know how to tap, she was like, okay, well, maybe we'll let somebody else. I don't know. I think playing Dre probably was the longest road to
It was a boot camp and
the
everything.
boot camp. Yeah, I think that had to have been the hardest, because he was there every day, and because it's a living character, and you want to do it justice, and there was so much pressure. Everybody was, you know, there was so much expectation that this could fail, and people were like, here we go, another rap biopic, you know.
Yeah.
I know I was thinking that. You know, but I think that was the hardest road to take, and
to really convince yourself, I can do this.
Yeah.
I got it.
To say yes, to say yes to yourself, and to not doubt yourself, and to not. It's so strange how we put those roadblocks up, no matter what your industry is.
Yeah.
How we put those roadblocks up and say, nah, I can't.
I don't think this is for me.
This isn't for me, so I'm not even going to try.
Not even knowing how much is really in store, how much potential you really have to do the character.
Yeah, and how much is already laid out for you. You know, you just have to say yes to it, and it was getting over that
comfort
fear.
zone.
Exactly, it stretches you, and it was getting out of that kind of allowed me to say, yes, and to look at this industry and the next roles, you know, look at being, I'm like, if I could play that, then of course I can play Paul Poitier, and of course I can, you know, go and be an action hero and at day and then come back at night, you know. So
because the majority of all your roles have so much courage in them. I feel like you never play a shy person. They all are just like people that are just out there. Like, I'm a Navy op, I'm an agent,
right.
I'm Dr. Dre, I'm Paul. That's manipulating everybody in New York City.
I know.
Like,
Yeah, maybe I should rein it in a little bit
and play like a shy character.
But that's the thing. Like that's what I like, surprising people and like doing stuff like. So that could be the next thing that, you know, that I do. It's like when I was doing R&J, everybody was like, "You're not." I remember having producers who would remain nameless on Compton, who would just be like, "You know, you have to like get into this character, right? Like, you know, you have to bring the street and the this and the." I was like,
I got it, okay?
It's like, yeah.
I got
thank
this,
you.
I'm good. Just wait on it.
Right,
I'm
right.
going through this boot camp.
Let me get through this.
I'm trying to learn how to mix first.
And I can bring everything else, but you just give me
mixing is hard. I can only imagine you trying to like mix
I
and
drove
then
them
think
crazy. Jason and O'Shea was so mad at me, like, because we all stayed kind of together too. So I had an apartment. My apartment was literally one wall. We shared a wall with Jason's apartment, and he'd be banging on. He'd be like, "Man, shut up!"
Because you would be mixing late at night.
And then in the trailers, we had trailers right next to each other too. So they'd be like, "Oh my God!" And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Like, it just wasn't. You know, everybody was like, "DJ the rap party." I was like, "Nope, I ain't going out like that."
Not DJ the rap party. Oh gosh. But it shows. That was one of my favorite parts. Like I was saying earlier, I really enjoy seeing the mixing because I just didn't think about that. Like,
well, nowadays people
Dre
do.
did.
Nowadays it's. I mean, not to take anything away from it because
but
DJing
everything's
is hard.
like computerized.
It's computerized.
Yeah.
And you got. I mean, you got all of these different ways to help, and I was like fascinated. I was like, how did you get the sounds off of this vinyl thing? Like, how do you get that off of that
and
into?
Because even when I watched the movie again, I was like, oh, it's two. So how do you go from it's playing in the thick, like how do you keep going back and forth? I need to take. I want to take mixing classes too, actually,
because
like, that looks so hard.
But it's fun though. It is fun. We had a good time. We had a really good time, and we had to learn how to do everything. We had to learn how to walk like them, talk like them, laugh like them. I mean, and we had Dub C, who, you know, worked with Q back in the day and rap with him, and but it was a group effort, and we had a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah. So the Tonys are just a few days away, and you'll be walking the red carpet as a Tony nominee. Where were you? Exactly, yeah, let's do a riddle off of that. That's amazing. So excited for you.
Thank you, love.
So where were you when...
I got you.
Thank you. Where were you when you got that phone call?
Sleep in my bed. I was knocked out. I went to Anna Wintour's, she had the Met Gala the night before. And I was at the Met Gala, and everybody was like, "Yeah, good luck and good luck tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, good luck." I didn't know what everybody was talking about. They were talking about the Tonys, but I thought they were talking about the show. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be hungover for the show. I'll be fine, you know. I'll be all right." And I got home. We partied all night, and I got home and woke up at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and my phone was just on the floor, just
going crazy.
And I'm like, "Oh shoot," you know. And then I found out friends, family, my publicists, my agents, everybody was calling.
So what did you do? Did you jump around? Did you go run down the street?
I actually, what did I do? I just remember sitting there and being like, okay. And then I put the phone down, and I was like, okay, I'm a Tony nominated actor. Okay, like it was like, and now I got a show to go do tonight.
Did you go back to sleep, or did you stay awake after that?
I think I tried to go back to sleep. But I couldn't go back to sleep because we had to start press. We had to start like immediately. Like people would call in and they wanted a statement and they wanted this. I'm like, really? Like I'm just still trying to wake up from last night. But it's just a huge honor to be nominated. I mean, that's a sort of thing that you can carry, even if you don't win. It's like you carry that with you for the rest of your life, you know. And so it means a lot. And in my category, only James Earl Jones and I think Denzel Washington have ever won in terms of black men.
That's absolutely incredible.
And Sidney Poitier, who I pretend to say to play the son of, he was the first black man to ever be nominated in that category
wow. So
too.
It's full circle.
Yeah, it just feels really surreal, and so I feel like I've won just by being in this cast and being able to play this role and the opportunity to have your name above the title. You know, it's just that's
and your face around Cadillac House and on Broadway.
No, hold on now.
Some great pictures.
I'm looking at some of these pictures. I'm like, okay. There's some good. But yeah, I feel lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this is enough. You know, just to be on this journey. And this is really cool, too. This is a really cool kickback.
Do you have a lot of say on your outfits, or do you just leave it to your stylist?
I kind of leave it to my stylist. I mean...
You're like, just hook me up.
Yeah, I'm not really a style person. Like, I don't know if I have a style or not. I just literally, if it's black, sweatpants, t-shirt, I'm good. Okay. Or like leather jacket and some jeans, I can do. I don't know, it just takes too much energy.
Yeah. Is there ever moments where it's maybe the stylist says something and it's too out there, too over your head, and you're just like, no, I'm not wearing that?
I actually like that. I like people to, like my team, I always tell them to challenge me. Like I always tell them, like, you know, push the boundaries. I just don't have I can see this tie and see this suit or see this, that, you know, and I just can't put them together. And then when somebody puts it together, I can go yes or no.
Oh, that works.
Yeah, like I have instincts like that. Other than that, nah, I can't.
No. Do you already know who your +1 will be for the night?
The Tonys? My grandma.
Your grandma?
Yeah.
So beautiful. I know she's proud.
She's hype. That was probably her just calling me just now.
I know
she's really hype. Well, I took my grandfather to the Super Bowl, and so she kind of was like, so it's my turn.
It's my turn. Oh my God, that's so amazing.
She's gonna have fun.
So what are some words of wisdom that you have for young artists out there?
I would say, if you're not, it's hard to put it. I mean, without being really real. I mean, if you're not really about this life and about this sort of journey and the struggle and the ups and the downs, and if you're not okay with hearing the words no, you know, if you're not okay with that, if you're not okay with criticism, if you're not okay with not being the prettiest or the most talented in the room, or you know, if you get caught up in all of the craziness, don't get into this industry, because it will eat you up and swallow you and spit you out.
And keep right on moving.
And keep going. And you know, it can be a whirlwind, and you have to have a core group of people around you who you trust and who you implicitly, you know, through the good and the bad. You don't want yes people around you all the time. But you have to stay in it. Even when it feels like the dream isn't coming together, or even if it feels, I mean, it feels right now like because this is a great moment for me. I'm enjoying it, and there's a lot of things happening. But that only started maybe 2 years ago. Prior to that, I was up in Harlem in my $350 apartment room, chilling a month, you know what I mean? Like box, like, you know, grinding, trying to make it work, audition, and hearing the words no all the time. And you have to be okay with that. You have to know that it's a lifelong journey, and you have to look at it as a career and not just, I take every blessing. Like I remember I would get like a McDonald's voiceover, and I'd say, if that's all I got for the rest of the year, I'm thankful, because that's more than someone else might be blessed with, or, you know, but I count that as a win, and I'm gonna keep going, and you don't plan anything. If you want, what they say, if you want God to laugh at you, tell him your plans.
Oh, definitely,
you know?
yeah.
So
that's the whole thing. You're supposed to just let go and let God, let him lead you.
And that's what's gotten me to here, and a lot of prayer.
Awesome. What's your theme song? The theme song for Corey Hawkins?
My theme song? I don't know why I was about to say Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What's the theme song? And what's Philadelphia, born? Like I literally be walking down the street feeling like, the Fresh Prince. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, probably Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh, that's good. Well, that's awesome. I love that song. I love that show.
I don't know where that came from.
I'm going to get you ready for some quick Q&A questions. So we're going to play this game called Fire Questions.
Uh-oh.
So I'm just going to throw some words, some sentences at you, and you just give me the first thing that's on your mind.
Okay.
Okay? Not much time to think. Just throw it out there.
Okay.
Beyonce or Rihanna?
Rihanna. Beyonce. And Rihanna.
I would hope.
I just saw Riri at the gala, so I was like, she was on my
All
mind.
right. Okay.
Good luck
both.
with the twins,
So that was both.
Oh.
Ice cream and birthday cake. Ice cream or birthday cake.
Ice cream.
Trader Joe's or Whole Foods.
Whole paycheck, as I call it.
Physical book or Kindle.
Physical book.
New York or LA.
New York.
Summer or winter.
Winter.
Tigers or lions.
Lions.
First thing you notice on a woman.
Smile.
You're stranded on an island, but you have one person with you. Who would that one person be?
Who would that one person be? I got some people gonna be like, really? Really? My little sister. I have my little sister with me. She's inventive. She's smart.
So she would know how to
She would know what
fix it.
She would know how to get us off the island.
I'm sure she's like, yeah.
No, she's like, I don't want to be stranded on no island with you. That's what she's thinking.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to the Q&As. Let's see. So we have Dwight Jordan from Mississippi. Will you return to The Walking Dead and resume your role as Heath?
So, they're super secretive about this show, but I will give you one teaser, and that's that. I don't know, did we get that? Did y'all get that?
That was a good one.
Did
I'm
it come
so
through?
excited.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
No, we literally can't tell anything about this show, and they keep it so tight-lipped, so.
We have Michael Olayede from Atlanta, Georgia. What are the best things about working in TV, film, and on stage?
What's up, Atlanta? That's like the new Hollywood right now.
It sure is.
The best things about working on what? Sorry, TV.
On, I guess you could pick your favorite one. What are some of the best things about working on TV, film, and on stage?
The community, the people. I think that's the thing that I love most about just all of them in terms of this industry. It's just meeting like-minded, humble, grounded artists who like to create good work, solid work, and it's just a good group of people.
Community support group.
Yeah.
We have Brian from New York. What has been the best advice given to you in regards of your acting career?
Keep going. Just keep going. No matter what, just keep going. And I've heard that a lot from a lot of people, but it kind of harkens back to what I was just saying earlier. You just have to keep going because a lot of people will just drop out because they're tired.
And when they're almost there, too.
Right when that door, there's a door, and I was just saying this to a friend today, actually, strangely enough, and there's a door right in front of you, and you've gone through other doors over and over and over and over, and there might not be anything on the other side of those doors, but there's a door right in front of you, and right when you feel like tired of opening doors, and that's
your door.
Your blessing is on the other side. And you might miss it because somebody else is gonna be right behind you to be like,
Exactly, the person that wasn't pushing as hard as you.
Exactly. You've made the path, and now stay on it, keep going.
And the next question is from, I hope I'm pronouncing it, Gianna. Hopefully so. So we have Gianna from Huntington Beach, California. Describe your worst audition and your most useful takeaway from it.
Oh, worst audition was Juilliard.
Really?
Yeah, it was Juilliard. It was I forgot my monologue with Juilliard. I just remember
You
sitting
just went in there and just went blank.
went blank. I literally was on the floor like this. I was like, oh, I'm gonna show them today. They're gonna learn today. I was like, I'm gonna get into Juilliard today. And I got on the floor and I was like.
You showed them nothing.
And nothing came out. And they were like, and they just started laughing and I was laughing. I was
They
like,
were laughing at you.
well, they were laughing because I was laughing. I was sitting there like, and they were like, why are you laughing? And I was like, I forgot it. and I knew this monologue since I was a kid. I've been working on it for, it was James Baldwin's The Amen Corner, and the character was David. And I just completely blanked on it. And then they were just like, well, you got anything else? And then I did this monologue that I saw this guy do on YouTube. It was from Titus Andronicus, but I just remembered it because I just remembered the musicality of the language and I just remember just repeating that. It wasn't any thought behind it. I just remember everything, like my life flashed before my eyes. I was like, I'm up in San Francisco audition for Juilliard. I'm never getting in. I'm just do this monologue for them just so I can get out the room. And I was one of 3 names on the list after I finished, when I came back, after walking around San Francisco all day, like.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And beating yourself up.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how for me, it taught me that there is no right or wrong. Because I came back in the room and they were like, the monologue you forgot, do you remember it? I was like, yes. They were like, do you sing? I was like, yes. And then I walked out but it reminded me that there's no set path. Mm-hmm. There is no Juilliard student. There's no right way to get a role. There's no right audition. Like, if it's meant for you, it'll be for you, you know? So that's what I took away from that.
That's awesome. We have another question. Let's do 2 more. We have a question from Guy Ford from Stamford, Connecticut. What can young folks do to gain respect in the business from casting agents and the industry?
As weird as it sounds, be yourself, because when you go into a room, I've noticed on the other side and being in casting rooms, working with casting directors like on Compton, we were part of the casting process for a lot of the other cast after we were in the movie. And really being yourself and really going in there without that sort of hire me vibe. You're auditioning them just as much as they're auditioning you.
Right.
And you have to remember that this project might not be right for you. And so you have to go in that room owning your work and everything that you prepped and let it go, you know? And then when you walk out of that room, it is what it is. Yeah. Rip it up, throw it away, move on.
Just keep moving.
Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question.
The next question is from Tabitha, that's also from Stamford, Connecticut. What did you do and she asked, what did you do for your audition at Juilliard? So that's perfect, because you've already...
I messed up. I thought I messed up.
You laid on the floor. Forgot everything.
Go stretch your arm out and forget your monologue. You can get into Juilliard.
Okay, and I can do this one then. This is from Mary Jean. And it says, how do you have to prepare for your role of Paul in 6 Degrees of Separation? And you did kind of talk about that, where you already explained that as well.
I think also because just in terms of the language, it's a really dense play. And so I'm learning how to rest and how to prep. I was talking to Ben Platt, who's in Dear Evan Hansen, who night after night, he's also nominated this year. We've been seeing each other, and he's nominated this year. And he was just telling me about his how he gets through the week, because it's hard. You feel like an athlete, and you have to kind of you have to rest, and you have to prep, and you have
find
to
your own push
you gotta get out there and give that audience 110%, even though you might not be feeling it. But yeah, it's just pushing through, you know, and making sure that I don't know, like with Paul, I just show up, warm up, make sure I'm there literally 2 hours early before every show, and pray.
You're just there, just being present.
Yeah, being present.
Well, thank you so much, Corey, for being here.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. means a lot.
And thank you everybody for coming out here tonight, and thank you to everybody that's streaming in, and thank you to the Cadillac House. This has been such a beautiful night. Tune in to get more updates on Kickback and Chat with Amber Pickens, and you could tune in on kickbackchat.com. Have a beautiful evening.